I'm seated today with Vish Nandlall. He's the CTO of Ericsson North America. Vish, there's a lot of talk about the cloud, and you seem to have a unique perspective as you discussed in your keynote, specifically on why it's relevant to operators. Could you share with us some of your thoughts?
Sure. You know, I think when we think about cloud, there's still a lot of confusion. It means a lot of different things to different people. What I'm proposing cloud is, it's really just a new way to deliver services. Right? Just like the internet was complex and scary back in the late 90s, early 90s, we're thinking about cloud the same way. It's really just going to be a new way for us to do business. And so, from an operator perspective, they need this in their toolkit. They need to have the opportunity to leverage cloud to deliver their services in a new way. Now, when we think about cloud today, I think our mind naturally goes to Amazon. So Amazon's proven one model for cloud, right? The public cloud. And the question is what role will the carrier play in cloud? Right? So the carriers have some assets that are very differentiated from what Amazon has. They actually have a network as well as data centers. And so one of the more intriguing parts is how can I take that network and choreograph it with cloud? I'll give you an example. If an enterprise is outsourcing all of his IT to the cloud, his traffic is shifting from east to west inside his enterprise to north and south towards the cloud. And so now he has this huge cost in terms of provisioning this 10 gig pipe. So if I can orchestrate the delivery of cloud services with that bandwidth, with that network, the operators are going to be able to stand up an offer that's very compelling.
You spoke about how telecom is changing rather rapidly from a direct to indirect perspective. Can you explain to us what this means?
Most services follow an S-curve in terms of how much penetration did that service have in a given segment, and then what the cost or the price that I have to pay for that service looks like. If I look at voice, it's actually hit utility levels. We're at 103% saturation in North America in terms of cellular connectivity of voice. Data has been halving in terms of the price per megabyte year over year since 2009. It's at around 3 cents per megabyte in 2012. Now we're still making money. We'll hit 80 billion of revenue at the end of this year, 2 exabytes of data, but data hasn't saturated us yet. Right? So the question is what will the operators do when data saturates? And this is where the shift from direct to indirect is going to take place. Right? We're going to see operators taking assets like voice and video, identity, billing, and they're going to offer it as capabilities that third parties can take, develop new applications, and deliver those to consumers. So the model is not going to be direct to subscribers, it's going to be indirect through a developer, to an app store, to a consumer. And that's where direct to indirect really starts to take root for the discussion I had earlier today.
There's many changes happening in the industry today, with new companies emerging, old companies leaving, etc. How do you see these telecom industries evolving and changing these new business models? And companies not only surviving, but growing?
I think we're in what Chetan Sharma calls the fourth wave in terms of telecom. And that means that our first wave was voice, second wave was messaging, third wave was data. And now we're getting into the fourth wave where it's not going to be one thing but a long tail. So when we take a look at what the operators need to do, they need to shift away from subscription to value creation. And that's going to create a lot of environmental pressures, because you're not going to optimize your network for one or two different services. You're going to have a different approach to managing many, many different services, so that in aggregate, the revenue I get from all those services equals what I have from voice, data, and messaging today. So effectively, we as an industry need to replace somewhere near 700 billion of revenue with a long tail of new applications. And so the operator is going to have to understand how do they negotiate between a few to many.
Well, Vish, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian, it was a pleasure.